Welcome, dear listeners, to today's episode of our historical exploration, where we delve into the fascinating tale of the National Science Foundation in the United States, rather than the English Civil War, as it seems the provided text does not pertain to the latter. As we embark on this journey through time, let us set our sights on the mid-20th century, a period marked by great turmoil and transformation, not just in politics, but also in science. In the aftermath of World War II, the United States found itself at the forefront of global affairs, with a newfound responsibility to harness the power of science for the betterment of society. It was amidst this backdrop that Vannevar Bush, a pivotal figure in American science, penned his seminal report, Science: The Endless Frontier, in 1945. This document would lay the groundwork for what was to become the National Science Foundation, an institution dedicated to promoting scientific progress and innovation. As we navigate the earliest history of the National Science Foundation, let us find ourselves in the bustling streets of Washington, D.C., where politicians, scientists, and visionaries congregated to discuss the future of American science. The year was 1947, and Vannevar Bush's report had sparked a nationwide debate on the role of government in scientific research. It was within this context that the concept of a National Science Foundation began to take shape, with figures like Frank B. Jewett and James B. Conant advocating for an institution that would support basic research and foster collaboration between academia, industry, and government. As we explore the formative years of the National Science Foundation, we find ourselves in a world where the boundaries between science, politics, and society were becoming increasingly intertwined. The post-war era was marked by a sense of optimism and trepidation, as the United States sought to assert its dominance on the global stage while confronting the challenges of a rapidly changing world. It was against this backdrop that the National Science Foundation would eventually come into being, with Alan T. Waterman at its helm, navigating the complex landscape of American science and politics. Join me next time as we venture into the heart of the National Science Foundation's story, where the pursuit of knowledge. Welcome back to our historical exploration, dear listeners, as we transition from the formative years of the English Civil War to its most pivotal and transformative period. It was during this time, marked by great upheaval and revolutionary change, that the very fabric of England's society, politics, and religion was rewoven. The year 1642 stands out as a watershed moment when the conflict between King Charles I and Parliament escalated into full-blown war, setting the stage for a decade of bloody conflict that would reshape the nation. As we delve into this critical era, let us find ourselves in the midst of the bustling streets of London, where news of the war spread like wildfire. The Battle of Edge Hill in October 1642, though indecisive, marked the beginning of a long and brutal struggle that would see the rise of powerful figures such as Oliver Cromwell, whose military prowess and political cunning would eventually lead him to become Lord Protector of England. The English Civil War was not merely a conflict over governance, but also a clash of deeply held beliefs about religion, power, and individual rights. The execution of King Charles I in 1649, following his defeat and the establishment of a Republican Commonwealth of England, stands as one of the most significant events in British history, symbolizing the radical shift away from monarchical rule towards a more representative form of government. One of the most fascinating aspects of this period is the emergence of various political and religious groups, each with their own vision for England's future. The Levellers, for example, advocated for democratic reforms, greater equality, and individual liberty, while the Diggers sought to establish a communal way of life based on shared land ownership. These movements, though they did not ultimately prevail, contributed significantly to the evolution of political thought in England and beyond. As we explore this tumultuous decade, let us also consider the international context. The English Civil War was part of a broader landscape of conflict that included the 30 Years' War in Europe, which saw various Protestant and Catholic states vying for power. This global backdrop added complexity to England's internal struggles, as different factions sought alliances and support from abroad. In reflecting on this period, we are reminded of the words of Oliver Cromwell, who once said, "A few honest men are better than numbers." These words encapsulate the spirit of conviction and principle that defined many of the key players in the English Civil War. Their actions, though often controversial and sometimes brutal, were motivated by a deep sense of purpose and a desire to shape England's future according to their beliefs. Join me next time as we venture into this fascinating period of reconciliation and rebuilding, where the seeds sown during the English Civil War would continue to influence the course of British history for centuries to come. Welcome back to our historical exploration, dear listeners, as we transition into the final chapter of the English Civil War's story, delving into its aftermath and lasting legacy on British society and politics. The period following the execution of King Charles I in 1649 and the establishment of the Commonwealth under Oliver Cromwell was marked by significant challenges and transformations. As we navigate this complex era, let us first consider the rule of Oliver Cromwell as Lord Protector from 1653 until his death in 1658. This period saw a series of constitutional experiments, including the Instrument of Government, which attempted to define the powers of the Lord Protector and Parliament. Despite its limitations, this document represented an early attempt at a written constitution, highlighting the evolving nature of governance in England. Cromwell's foreign policy was also notable for its assertiveness, particularly with the Navigation Acts aimed at bolstering English trade and challenging Dutch dominance of the seas. These acts would have long-term implications for English economic and colonial policies, setting the stage for Britain's emergence as a major maritime power. However, Cromwell's death in 1658 led to a succession crisis, with his son Richard proving ineffective as his successor. The eventual collapse of the Commonwealth and the lack of a clear alternative led to the restoration of 1660, where Charles II was invited back to the throne. This event marked a significant turning point in English history, as it sought to reconcile the divisions of the past while establishing a new basis for monarchical power. The Restoration period was characterized by an initial spirit of tolerance and reconciliation, embodied in the Declaration of Breda, issued by Charles II before his return. This document promised amnesty for those who had fought against the monarchy, freedom of conscience, and a review of land ownership to address grievances. However, this tolerant atmosphere was short-lived, as the Cavalier Parliament, which sat from 1661, began to enact laws that restricted the rights of non-Anglicans, such as the Clarendon Code. Despite these challenges, the Restoration also saw significant cultural and scientific advancements. The Royal Society, founded in 1660, became a hub for scientific inquiry and experimentation, symbolizing the growing interest in empirical knowledge and natural philosophy. This period also witnessed a flourishing of the arts, with figures like Samuel Pepys and John Evelyn providing vivid accounts of life in Restoration England. In reflecting on the legacy of the English Civil War, it is clear that its impact was profound and far-reaching. The conflict had challenged traditional notions of monarchy, religion, and governance, paving the way for future political and social reforms. The Glorious Revolution of 1688, which saw William III and Mary III ascend to the throne, further solidified constitutional monarchy and parliamentary supremacy, laying the groundwork for Britain's development into a modern democratic state. As we conclude our exploration of the English Civil War and its aftermath, we are reminded that historical events are part of a continuum, with each period influencing the next. The struggles, ideals, and setbacks of 17th-century England have left an enduring legacy, shaping not only British history, but also contributing to broader discussions about power, liberty, and governance that continue to resonate today. And so, dear listeners, As we bring this chapter of our historical journey to a close, we invite you to reflect on the complexities and nuances of the English Civil War and its profound impact on the course of history. The pursuit of understanding this pivotal period in English history offers valuable insights into the evolution of political, religious, and social thought, reminding us that the past continues to inform and shape our present. Thank you for joining me on this exploration, and we look forward to embarking on new historical adventures together in the future. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.